Welcome, welcome. It's really nice to see everyone here today at our traditional live Q&A. And it's really interesting that sometimes I like to see how many people register for a specific topic. And for this topic, how we can handle and eat as we age actually caused a lot of interest. We actually had, I think, close to 30 people registered. Of course, the amount of people that will join actually probably is going to be different versus from those who signed up. But anytime you sign up, you'll get the recording. So if you cannot join live, please put your name if you're interested in the topic so we can send you the recording. So today, we're going to dedicate time to talk about nutritional needs as we grow older. As we enter in different stages of our lives, our nutritional needs are changing. And I feel like my practice is growing older and older. Now I have much more people who are in their 20s, but also more people in their mid 60s and late 60s, and even 80s. 80s and up. So, and as a traditional or pure functional medicine practice, we always start our conversation with nutritional needs and nutrients. What can we do to maintain our health and our nutritional needs with food or supplementation? And of course, there's many different factors that will answer that question for a specific person, but yet there's some similarities for all of us. So we all know that food is the medicine. And it's also one of the best investments that we can do in our health is to put our money into the food and nutrition because it is so important. Think about it. Food is their most consistent message that we send to our body. Is it anti-inflammatory? Is it pro-inflammatory food that we consume? Remember to eat and rotate your food. This is really important. So today we're going to be talking about a variety of things. One of them is understanding nutritional deficiencies as we age. And what are the causes of these nutritional deficiencies? What are the symptoms? How can we recognize the symptoms of nutritional deficiencies? What other events in our lives as we grow older can contribute to nutritional deficiency? So we can prevent it, recognize those events, and start supporting your body so you do not get into the deficiency state. What are the ways of supporting healthy aging based on the current research? And I'm going to say a few words about about my new digital course, Whole Gut Wellness Program, that is about to launch in the beginning of September. And because you are participating in this live Q&A today, you will get a chance to snatch their great deal of signing up for this program at the very reduced price if you're interested too. Okay, so what is our nutritional concern? Why do we need the optimal nutrition? Of course, because we are running on the fuel, and that fuel is generated by our body, and our body needs nutrients, it needs their substrate to generate the energy. So that's why food and nutrition becomes extremely important. We are in the crisis of overnutrition that we're going to talk about it, as well as the crisis of undernutrition when we're not consuming enough good micronutrients and phytonutrients. We're going to talk about the concern about food additives and refined food and what are our nutritional needs as we age become much more prominent. So we need an optimal nutrition because we want to remain healthy as we grow older. In other words, our health span or the time in our lives when we are still healthy should match as closely as possible to our lifespan. So even though statistically people live longer, it doesn't mean that the quality of life of that longevity this matches our expectation. Many people spend their last years of their lives in the nursing homes when they're actually not enjoying their lifespan, but there are some who do. So we want to really improve the quality of life, and nutrition is a really important factor of to reach that goal. So we signal to ourselves what we do via our nutrition. So good stuff in and and bad stuff out, right? Good in and uh, going out all the bad stuff. So good nutrition equals optimal function. Junk food is definitely a poor signal. So we are what we eat, and if we eat processed food, unfortunately, that leads to our um, more chronic medical illnesses, and it's been shown in the research, of course. And standard American diet or SAD diet has been proven to, unfortunately, reduce the quality of life of our generation. We are now, as you probably know, we are a nation of obesity, with nation of inflammation, and nation of chronic illnesses where we spend tremendous amount of money on pharmaceutical medications, on very advanced technology of the treatments, but we are not healthier because of that. So this mind-body signaling where our mood and stress level will affect our hormones and on our digestion. And when we are stressed, we are not breaking down the food we eat. So that's why it's so important to optimize your intake of the food with their stress-free environment. And of course, if we don't digest the food, we cannot build our neurotransmitters in the brain, and then our brain is not functioning properly. We do need to exercise for a healthier lifespan and a health span. So we need to really optimize all three of those parameters in order for us to age healthier. Nutrition, mind body connection and signaling, and exercise. So this is actually a prescription for all my patients who are interested in their health span. And of course, we are in the crisis over nutrition when we are flooded with their sugars, unsaturated, saturated fats, and junk food. A few words about the sugars. As you know, the sugars are present either in the monosaccharides in the form of glucose or fructose that is present in the fruit. So for the question, is the fruit good for me? It depends, right? And the high fructose corn syrup, which is the processed sugar, flooding our processed food and our food industry. Huge multi-billion dollar industry that is really making us all sick. And by the way, interesting fact, you probably know that in the process of production of the high fructose corn syrup, there is a use of mercury. So actually, one of the sources of mercury toxicity is consumption of a high fructose corn syrup in large quantities. And it's everywhere, right? It's in every processed food. So and how do you know? You need to read the labels. So monosaccharides we talked about, but disaccharide is when two sugar molecules are melt together. And those are you could exist in a different combination. For example, glucose and glucose equals maltose. That's the name of the disaccharide, and it's present in the beer. And the sucrose is when glucose is connected to molecule of fructose, for example, in their fruit. And then lactose that is present in the milk, glucose and galactose together matched, and those are another form of this cycle. So those are not easily to broken down by our gut and easily absorbed into the blood circulation, causing the surges of their glucose level, which is not healthy. The starches that we also see in their starch is another type of sugars. They're actually polysaccharides, so it's multiple glucose molecules in the strings, and they actually considered to be healthier because it takes time for the body to break them down. They're not the most optimal, but they are healthier than monosaccharide and disaccharides. So monosaccharides and disaccharides are really the worst of the than starches as I mentioned, and the sugar consumption has increased in the past 3 decades by 30%. So every decade we just increase as a population consumption of the sugar by 10% about in each decade. So we increase the sugar consumption, we increase the load of the stress in our life, and at the same time, we increase the environmental chemical exposure. Plus, we consume more processed food. That all creates a perfect storm for insulin resistance, one of the most common diagnoses that we see now in our patients, not only in elderly or aging population, but also in the younger people, right? But it's definitely one of their outcomes of aging. All of us will eventually get into the state of insulin resistance if we live long enough. But it's better for us to develop it when we're in 90 versus when we're in our 30s or 40s. And why are we talking about insulin resistance as one of the factors in aging and nutritional support? Because when we increase insulin resistance and the sugar is fluctuating or floating in our bloodstream for a longer period of time, we actually start the process of glycation, or basically it's rusting that sugar molecule with protein, and it creates the glycation or caramelization process. So this caramelization or Maillard reaction creates development of the special species in the blood, right? Special particles or products that are called advanced glycation end products. And funny enough, it's called ages products, which are really detrimental for the process of aging. More of those age particles or glycation particles we have, faster we age. And one of the markers of that age product is actually hemoglobin A1C that your doctor, we routinely check for our patients, because I want to see how fast is this person rusting, how fast are they glycating, and that would be a marker. So this age products or advanced glycation end products will bind to receptors, which we call RAGEs, right? RAGEs products. And that's what results in aging, in the skin wrinkling, and the brown spots on our skin, and also thinning and oxidizing our essential tissues like our cartilages. It also participates in development of cataracts in the eyes, so our eyesight is going down. All of those clinical manifestations that we just discussed, brown spots on the skin, cataracts, cartilages wearing down, all of that is the result of the glycation. So the fructose, interestingly, that we just talked about, some of their monosaccharides, so fructose drives the Maillard or caramelization reaction 250 times faster than glucose. So that's the answer on other fruit, good food. So fructose in fruit is bound to the fiber, and it is not so toxic because it takes time for that fructose to be released. But if you take that fruit and you juice it, like an orange juice that we all grow up thinking that it's a good thing for us, is not so good because it's a pure fructose, pure sugar that as soon as it enters the bloodstream, it will glycate the proteins in our bloodstream and create those ages and RAGEs products, and will cause wrinkling, brown spots, oxidation, tissue aging, and that's what we want to avoid. So sugar equals not a good outcome. Now let's talk about overnutrition. So we do or incorrect nutrition, right? So we all know about incidence of obesity And obesity will associate with other chronic illnesses like type 2 diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and even Alzheimer's disease or dementia. But all of that overnutrition also will create chronic illnesses that 90% of our elderly suffering from: osteoarthritis, cataract, sleep apnea, urinary and bladder issues. So basically, overnutrition with their dense nutrition that is low in density, high in sugar, high in saturated fat, will create those issues. So we need to stay away from it. Now, let's talk about undernutrition because we are obese, right? We're a nation of obesity, and people just getting larger and larger as I travel and I see people in different parts of the country. I see that people are becoming much bigger than we used to. But in spite of the fact that we are overweight, we actually undernourished because the modern agriculture depletes the nutrients in the soil. Okay, so the utilization, all the modern pesticides and herbicides, the Roundup, and all the new GMO techniques, they all deplete our soil in nutrients. Surprise, surprise. And then food, the way the food is transported from California, it comes to New York. Do you think they will collect that food and it's going to be here next day? No, they pick it up. It's not ripe. It arrives as it travels, as it's picked up from the plant or from the bush or from the vine. It starts losing its energy and starts losing its nutrition. By the time it comes to New York, it's probably been off the ground for at least a week, if not longer. So again, that depletes their food that we eat. Fast food and refined food that people have less and less time to cook for themselves. It's much easier and faster and cheaper to pick up their fast food from the restaurants or buy some frozen dinner. So you can just put it in the microwave and, of course, intoxicate yourself with all those particles that are refined food. So the rule is basically, what can we draw from here? We can say that eating locally grown foods much more important than buying produce from a different state. So visit your farmers markets, eat local food, eat organic as much as possible, because at least you will limit your exposure to herbicides, pesticides, and organic food is grown on the soil that at least has to stay off pesticides exposure for 6 years. So it is important, and does make difference if you eat organic or not. And we know from the studies that our modern nutritional, our food is actually depleted. And a good example is about Brazil nuts that are actually not high in selenium anymore. It used to be that, oh, you should eat only 2 or 3 Brazil nuts because otherwise you can supplement on selenium. And the recent studies show that the level of selenium in Brazil nuts is decreased tremendously. Even organic Brazil nuts are not as rich in selenium as they used to. So, yes, unfortunately, that is the truth. So I do encourage all my patients to choose non-GMO, choose organic, and eat and buy locally. Support your local farmers, support your local farmers markets. So also, how does nutrition affect aging and illness? Dr. Robert Lustig identified he's actually a pediatric endocrinologist who wrote a lot of books about the association between nutrition, sugar, and aging and illness. So he identifies this list of different factors. Glycation that we talked about, remember the sugar that comes into the blood, it glycates with the protein, creates those ages and rages. It creates oxidative stress, which is the free radical that can cause the damage to the cell. In other words, rusting. We all rust as we grow older. And think about what's happening with our joints. As it grows older and it gets rusty, it becomes more tighter and more stiffer. And as you move those joints, you basically grinding the inflamed joint. It creates more inflammation, right? And inflammation equals inflammaging. So you're much more inflamed. You create even more oxidative stress. So it's a vicious cycle. Then now we create mitochondrial dysfunction when the cell has less mitochondria as we grow older, and they become much less efficient, and they create more oxidative stress as they work through the process of creating and generating the molecule of energy, which is ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. At the same time, when we are getting nutritional deficiency or aging, our membrane, our cellular membrane, lose their integrity. That's why it's so important to eat healthy fats, because our membranes are made of fats. So good quantity and good quality of omega-3, omega-6. Make sure your physicians will test your omega-6, omega-3 ratio. Majority of us are in a deficient state of omega-3 because of our diets. And of course, there's another very important two factors of aging and how nutrition affects our aging is epigenetics and methylation. Epigenetics is the science that explains and teaches us how our environment works with our genes and how it makes our genes either be silent and prevent the progression of the disease, or just an opposite, make our genes scream and process and increase the risk of disease. So different genes work differently. Some genes need to be turned off by our environment for us to remain healthy. Other genes to be turned on to provide health for our cells. And of course, autophagy, one of the most intricate mechanisms that our body has for self-healing and self-cleaning. It's a process of eating up or destroying things that are not supposed to be in the body. It could be different pathogens, so it could be different complexes of amino antibodies and antigens and antibody complexes that need to be eaten up and broken down. The body, if it does efficiently, we actually remain healthy. And the best thing to stimulate autophagy, you probably know it, is fasting. So if you fast on day 3, we actually turn on the autophagy mechanisms when the body starts utilizing its own existing resources. And it usually starts with the oldest cells and all the complexes that should not be there. So that's a great thing for us. So let's talk a little bit about nutrients and overview of nutrients. Of course, we all heard about macronutrients and micronutrients that and the microbiome. Those are the 3 most important components. And macronutrients includes protein, carbs, and fats. And micronutrients are those vitamins and minerals and antioxidants and phytonutrients. And as we grow older, actually our microbiome is changing, and we call it microbe aging. Well, and that's also very important. If you want to maintain a healthier and younger body, it's important to maintain healthy microbes. And healthy microbes eat on the food that you eat. So again, we're going back to the nutrition. So remember, the macronutrients keep you alive, but micronutrients and phytonutrients improve your quality of life. So if you work with a dietitian, conventional dietitian, they mostly train to teach you about macronutrients, your proteins, your carbs, your fats, all the right ratio, how much you need to eat those. But in functional medicine, we go a little deeper. We're looking at the micronutrients. Those are your vitamins. Those are your minerals, zinc, vitamin C, vitamin D, right? And phytonutrients. Those are the nutrients that come from food, from the plants. And that's why it's so important to eat whole food diet, because processed food is definitely very much depleted in micronutrients and in phytonutrients. So let's talk about causes of nutrient deficiency with aging, and there's many of them. Some of them you're probably familiar, and some of them could be new to you. So, for example, decrease in physical activity or slow metabolism, less efficient food absorption. I always was uh, fascinated to see how our digestion is getting weaker and weaker as we grow older. And if that process starts pretty early, for example, I always teach my patients that after 40, almost all of us start decreasing their amount of stomach acid that we produce. As a result, we cannot break down efficiently and completely the amount of the proteins that we eat. So as a result, we are in protein deficiency. We have less and less amino acids, which are the building blocks for multiple cellular functions. So as we grow older, our efficiency in food digestion and absorption decreases. And people with atrophic gastritis even in more problems because they cannot break down food at all. People with higher BMI, body mass index, may increase nutritional requirements. So if we are overweight or if we are have a bigger body mass, we actually need much more nutrients. And we cannot get away with a one meal a day. We need to eat 2 or 3 meals a day to meet those requirements. Chronic illnesses can affect nutritional requirements, and demand definitely will increase. If you want your body to heal certain uh, illnesses, you need to deliver pure nutrients and very dense nutrients. Medications, there's a whole list of medications that will deplete our micronutrients, B12, CoQ10, statins. So many people are taking statins, and nobody tells my patients, or at least many of them will come, and they will be on no CoQ10 support. Statins actually block CoQ10 production in the body, and as a result, cell suffocates in the process of energy production. So as a result, the energy is not produced as efficiently as it should be. So make sure if you know anyone who is on statins or you take statins yourself, make sure to supplement CoQ10 because most likely it's completely blocked. So yeah, so there's a website you can Google and find drug-induced nutritional depletion. Metformin, for example, will deplete your B12, statins, CoQ10, and on and on and on. So other causes is loss of appetite and smell. Elderly do lose the smell. It actually could be one of their first signs of dementia when people do not stop smelling things. And if you stop smelling things, your appetite is because food tastes like a carton box. So it's not really great to eat when you don't enjoy the taste of it. And you just need to eat because you need nutrients. Teeth issue, very common elderly. Mouth pain that diminishes people's ability to eat nutritious food or eat whole foods. And also limited food choices because of their either nothing available in their local store or food, as we discussed, became less and less healthy. Mobility issues in elderly, like difficulty opening the jars or needing others people to assist them to prepare food or shop for them. And the people don't want to bother their caretakers, and therefore they become slowly but surely in that nutritional deficiency. And of course, low income and less access for high quality food is a huge nutritional deficiency factor that we see with aging. So what are the general micronutrients needs? We're just going to go over a quick list of nutrients that are really essential for our aging. Vitamin D is probably receive most of their accolades because we all decrease the sun of exposure in spite of the fact that there's a global warming outside. We do not expose ourselves to this. Skin becomes much thinner as we grow older, and there's also decreased production, internal production of vitamin D. So it becomes really essential to supplement vitamin D. As we know, it also has not just, we need vitamin D not only for the stronger bones, but we also need it for stronger immune system. So make sure you're tested for vitamin D level and your level is on optimal. Calcium, of course, calcium wasting, medications will block calcium absorption. If you don't have enough vitamin D, you cannot absorb your calcium. And we're having decreased intake because more and more people are avoiding food that is naturally rich in calcium because of the quality. For example, dairy is not, even though it's a really great source of calcium, it's not really the best based on the quality of their dairy product that we have and available to us. B12 deficiency. Deficiency of B12 is about 12% of population and 25% of adults in the long-term care homes are deficient. One of my teachers always joked that if we can just hang an IV bag with a B12 in it, and those of you who did the IV nutrition, you know, it colors their fluid in the bright yellow color. So if you hang those IVs in a nursing home, half of their nursing home will walk out from there because they just don't need to be there because they just got a most important micronutrient that you need for the brain function, for energy production, and for many, many other functions. So, but look at that, folic acid. Folic acid is so important for our brain health, and 50% of elderly are deficient in folic acid. That's why I strongly recommend for many of my patients to not just be on the oral supplementation, but periodically get intravenous supplementation of all those essential micronutrients like folic acid and vitamin C. Be careful with vitamin A because elderly might have a problem with clearing the vitamin A, and they might be at the high risk of hypervitamin A exposures or hypervitaminosis, which is not fun to have. But definitely deficiency in vitamin E, that is so essential for our cardiac health. B6, again, so important for methylation and protection of our genes from mutation. And magnesium. 70% of population, statistically, not elderly, but population is deficient in magnesium. Why? Because glyphosate, most popular herbicide, is the chelate. It's a binder. When it gets into the soil, it binds the minerals. So they're not available anymore to the growing plants. As a result, the growing plants are very low in nutrients and micronutrients. So we eat those plants, we think we're doing the good thing, but unfortunately, we are not getting enough micronutrients. So nutritional supplementation becomes a norm. And it's unfortunate, but that's the truth. And let's talk about other minerals that are so essential for us. Zinc, one of the most desired elements in our body, participates in 300 different biochemical reactions associated with their immune system dysfunction, especially in people with alcohol consumption or diabetes. Very important for men because it participates in testosterone production, but women as well. And zinc administration appears to protect against deterioration of vision and other age-related diseases like macular degeneration. But also selenium deficiency seems to be associated with increased prevalence of cancer. So micronutrients are really essential for a healthy aging. And this is a good example of the supplements that can be reached in micronutrients. When you look at your supplements, make sure you have vitamin A, C, D, E, K, but also the whole array of other B vitamins. And you can't really get all of that in one pill, right? That is hardly being digested, especially those that are very popular and over the counter and highly advertised. So one pill is not going to cut it. You really need supplementing with multiple capsules and pills. But also look at the macronutrients. As you can see here on this label, you can see amount of protein, amount of fat, amount of the carbohydrates. Those are the macronutrients. But look at the phytonutrients. There are, in this product specifically, there's so many different um, herbs and whole food supplements. Most of them are organic. This is what you want to see in your supplementation. You want to see a whole array of beautiful organic produce in your supplement if you cannot get it live. But this is a pre-digested. We do have it in our fabulous greens product that you can get at our store. So the phytonutrients are the micronutrients they're in the plants, right? So that's why phyto stands for plants. So if the micronutrients are depleted, most likely phytonutrients are also depleted. And the phytonutrients are they're counted in thousands of nutrients in the plant that protect us from cancer, from chronic diseases, and most importantly, from aging. For example, broccoli alone contains over 10,000 phytonutrients. The key, and it's very important, that many of those phytonutrients are destroyed once you cook them. Once you cook those herbs or broccoli or all those colorful, beautiful vegetables. So if you can tolerate them raw and fresh, please choose that because the fresh vegetables and fresh plants are really superior to the cooked ones. But sometimes we need to cook them as well. But more raw you can tolerate, better it is. Let's talk about microbe aging, right? So as I mentioned that with age, we lose healthy microbes like Clostridium and the Bifidobacterium, and it becomes really essential to supplementers. And increase in with age will also increase the disease-causing bacteria. Well, for example, there are proteobacteria or pathobionts that are present in enterobacteria. And by the way, our stool test can test for that enterobacteria and determine if you're aging, if your microbiome is aging or not. So that definitely will increase the worsening of gastrointestinal function, and as a result, you'll decrease the vitamin production because all those little critters in our gut are big friends of us because they produce the many vitamins for us. The B vitamins, their vitamin C and vitamin K, all are produced by our microbiome. And that's why we're going even deeper from food, we're going to the microbiome. And it's becoming extremely important for healthy aging. Don't forget to take your probiotics. So all of these changes in microbiota will alter the gastrointestinal tract ability to digest and absorb the nutrients from food. And as a result, our immune system becomes weaker. We all learned in the time of COVID that elderly were at higher risk of negative outcomes. Why? Because of all those factors, because the immune system is not as robust as someone who is, in their teens. And we know that younger kids would go through the COVID, they wouldn't even have a symptom. They would be completely asymptomatic. So that's the reason. There's a multiple mechanism involved. So nutrient deficiency, as we talked about, it could be related also to diet and lifestyle and strategies that we can implement to improve those are your diet, your exercise, and your supplementation. So make sure you follow all those three things if you want to age healthy. So malnutrition in the aging and elderly is a big problem. It includes excessive imbalance and malnutrition includes excessive imbalance and deficient energy of nutrient intake. So excessive in form of processed food, imbalanced in form of eating too much sugar because it's easy, it's accessible, it's easier to eat a piece of bread than cook a meal, right? So malnutrition is seen in about 15% of those living in the community, or up to 60% those who are hospitalized. And you would think they're being served good food, but it's not the case. And almost 85% of elderly who are in long-term care residents slowly but surely become nutrient depleted and malnourished. This is really sad because you would think that you can control the environment for people who are in the facility and you can give them a better quality food and maybe intravenous IV and maybe engage them in the cooking if they're still in the place in the state when they can cook. But unfortunately, this is the statistics. And let's talk about factors that can contribute to risk of poor aging. And of course, there's exposure to toxins like smoking or alcohol intake, still very prominent. Also, of course, abnormal gait, because it creates falls and it creates aches and pains in the body, depression, anxiety, bereavement. This is the age when we start losing our friends, our family members, our companion, and of course, dementia or cognitive impairment becomes a big factor that can contribute to their poor aging. Urinary incontinence, people will start decreasing the water intake when they have urinary incontinence, and as a result, they would age faster. Hearing and visual impairment, poverty, isolation, and inability to shop or prepare the food. I think that is one of the most important because once the nutrition goes down, everything goes down. So the consequences of poor nutrition is, of course, development of all those different chronic illnesses or even acute illnesses like osteoporosis, anemia, poor wound healing, immune dysfunction, loss of muscle mass, which is a sarcopenia, reduced cognitive function, and higher morbidity and mortality. So people are getting sicker and unfortunately die sooner if they have a poor nutrition. And what can we do about it? So this is what we can do. We can look at the diet, lifestyle strategies, and to improve the nutritional intake, diet, exercise, and supplementation. So let's take a dietary inventory. What do we eat? And how much do we eat of what, right? So what is the best diet? So according to the Michael Pollan, the author and the food journalist, a healthy diet generally includes the real food, not processed. So closer your food on your plate is to original look or original state of that food, better it is, right? Eating mostly vegetables, especially for elderly. Not too much food, but nutritionally dense. In general, the modified Mediterranean diet is probably one of the best diets out there. Fruit and vegetables, so about 3/4 of your, actually half of your plate should be vegetables. Then quarter of your plate should be your protein and your fat, right? Healthy fats like olive oil, olives, avocado, maybe eggs, and a little bit of legumes and a little bit of grains. Legumes more preferred than grains, if you can tolerate. And make sure you rotate things. You don't eat rice every single day. You eat rice, and then you eat quinoa, and you eat other grains, buckwheat, and millet, and amaranth, and this whole bunch of different and very nutritious grain that we forgot. We call them ancient grains. So make sure you enhance your diet with a variety of the grains and vegetables. But eating the rainbow a day is still stands the test of time. So if you look at this Mediterranean diet, you can see that on the bottom of it is your physical activities. Be active. Enjoy your meals with others. It's so important to eat your meals in there, not alone, but with someone. Go dance, go exercise, go for a walk, have a community. And then this Mediterranean diet we already discussed multiple times. The bottom of your pyramid should contain of the vegetables, fruit, whole grains, olive oil, beans, nuts, legumes, seeds, herbs, and spices. Then you'll eat fish and seafood when possible. Sorry for the siren. And then less of their animal products like dairy, uh, poultry, and very little meat, right? And very little sweets. In moderation, you can have a glass of wine, maybe 3, 4 times a week, and plenty of water. So this is our regular Mediterranean diet pyramid. So studies actually show, studies that were done with Mediterranean diet show that even if people in their 70s start the modified Mediterranean diet, they experience health improvement and increase more than 50% reduced risk of mortality and disease of all causes if people maintain Mediterranean diet. So it's never too late. Don't think it's too late. It is not. Try to eat according to Mediterranean diet as much as possible. So over the age of 60, our goals may include increase our liquids or increase our fiber and higher quality proteins, maintain the weight, do not lose much weight, especially weight from the muscles. You might lean up, but you don't want to lose muscles because muscle mass associated with the longevity and with the strength and with their resilience of be more resilient with aging. Monitor your sugars and carbs. Those should be reduced to minimum. Complex carbs okay because it's part of your vegetables, but refined sugars, those desserts, should be really reviewed and eaten very cautiously. Liberalize food intake unless there is a reason for restriction. For example, heart heart failure or renal failure when you have to limit certain foods. So with age, we definitely lose appetite. We're not as hungry as we used to be unless we engage in a lot of physical activities. So don't limit yourself, but definitely increase your water intake. So we know that the signs of malnutrition could be and risk factors like disease or multiple medications, poor eating, dental problems, economic hardship, reducing social contact, involuntary weight loss or gain, needing self-care assistance, or people over age of 80. All of those are usually signs of malnutrition. So anyone over 80 is usually malnourished. And it takes a lot of energy and a lot of effort to maintain the good nutritional status on elderly. This is a very interesting modified pyramid for elderly, which is Mediterranean pyramid. But as you can see on the bottom, it's physical activity. So be as active as possible. And the second part of pyramid from the bottom is the water intake. So we know that on younger population, we recommend half of your weight in ounces, right? So if you weigh 160 pounds, you need to drink 80 ounces of water. But it becomes really difficult for elderly, especially people with incontinence, to consume so much water. But here's the problem. As we grow old, we do not produce the water in our body as efficiently as the younger people. That's why young people usually are not thirsty. And they can maintain the water electrolyte balance just because their cells can make the water in the process of energy production. But as we grow older and our mitochondria become less efficient, we do not produce as much water as we used to. So that's why the water consumption is important. So you can review this pyramid. It's really cool to see that we need less of animal protein. We need much more of a whole food for vegetables, and especially non-starchy vegetables, and less bread, less grains, and but more healthy oils. And this is a good questionnaire that I like. You will be emailed this questionnaire. It's actually asks you if there are any, it's basically a great tool to screen for nutritional deficiency because it goes over all those factors that we discussed. Are you consuming too much alcohol? Are you eating alone? Do you have any illness or condition that can put you at risk of um, their nutritional deficiency? Have you gained weight or lost weight in the last 6 months? So if their total score is more than uh, is close to 20, then I'm sorry, not 20. Actually, this is their breakdown. If you are 0 to 2, you're definitely in a good state, and you will be sent that questionnaire after their presentation. So definitely make sure you score yourself. Recheck your nutritional score in 6 months. If your score is 3 to 5, you're moderate risk. So we might need to talk about nutritional intervention and your eating habits and your lifestyle. And we'll retest you in 3 months. And if your score is 6 and above, you're at much higher risk of nutritional deficiency. So we might need to develop a very strict plan of how to help you to avoid or reverse nutritional deficiency. That's what we do. So functional medicine will definitely help you with interesting tricks and tips. Make sure you exercise or be active. Find something that you enjoy doing, either in group or by yourself. Dance, walk, take stairs, go to the walk in the park, but move, because movement is life. And there's one of my colleagues actually recently opened coordination and vestibular apparatus training for elderly because and it's a part of their osteoporosis prevention and treatment, because if you don't fall, you don't break anything, right? So, but coordinating and making sure you have enough muscle mass so you can maintain that uh, vestibular apparatus and coordination is really, really important. So find the ways to make waterways taste better without unhealthy sugars. You can just add some fresh fruit or fresh vegetables like cucumber or mint into the water if the water doesn't taste good alone. So, but drinking enough water is really, really important. And make sure you select the food that is nutritionally dense. You might eat smaller quantities, but it has to be dense nutritionally food. Okay, and I always recommend, not only for my younger people, but especially for my elderly clients, to eat healthy shake. So I recommend to use either nuts or oat or almond or coconut milk as a base or as a liquid, um, because it increases nutritional value. Add the protein powder that is pre-digested. So your body doesn't need to digest it. Usually the protein shake that we recommend have a multi-nutrients and multi-minerals powders, or you can just add it as an extra scoop. Add good fats to your protein shake. Add avocado or add nut butter. Add some fiber. Eat some green powder that we have, like Fabulous Greens. Add organic berries or cherries. Don't use bananas much, but use organic berries and cherries because they're nutritionally much more dense. And this could be a great snack, or it could be a meal replacement for people who don't have a good appetite. But this is a really easy way to take a concentrated proteins and concentrated foods into your diet. And of course, there's a bunch of different supplements that we recommend. Avoid that one-a-day supplements. Those usually have, not good quality nutrition, vitamin D, of course, B12, vitamin C, multiminerals. All of that will be developed specifically for you when you come for the visit, based also on your genetics and all your nutritional status currently determined. So can you change the rate of aging? Yes, with epigenetic testing and measuring methylation, we can actually determine biological age and the rate of aging. We do this test in our practice. And there are early small studies show that if we catch their aging early, we can actually reverse it and maintain it. Yes, it's a lot of work. Yes, it's an adjustment to your lifestyle. Yes, it's taking supplements and being very mindful of what you eat, how much you eat, and when you eat. It would actually decreasing caloric intake, but increasing the nutrient density with the food is also really, really important. Avoiding medication and making sure you take some supplements that will support nutritional deficiencies caused by certain medications. And we actually also have some of their anti-aging medicine or medications like rapamycin that helps us with immunity that is decreasing with aging, lithium, DHEA, and other hormone replacement modalities. So we can improve our outcomes by decreasing glycation, by decreasing the carbs or sugar intake, reducing oxidative stress by eating more antioxidants and colored fruit and vegetables, preventing mitochondrial dysfunction by taking certain nutrients. We just launched a really great nutrient, urolithin A, that is proven that has 15 years of research to improve and stimulate mitochondrial function, one of their favorites for athletes because it increases their performance, athletic performance, and make sure you take your healthy fats. All of that will decrease the inflammation and improve their outcomes of aging. And remember the epigenetic methylation. When your genes are modified by your lifestyle, that's what epigenetics is. And you provide sufficient amount of methylated B vitamins that is also presented in our in my line of B vitamins, making sure you take sufficient amount of choline, betaine, magnesium. Again, all of that needs to be determined based on your genetics, which is very important, and that's what we're looking at. And improving outcomes with stimulating autophagy by when the body is removing old and dysfunctional cells or unnecessary components of the cells, increasing the vitamin D, doing the fasting or time restricted eating, even with elderly, and know your healthy markers. Make sure you test it for your micronutrients and vitamins and minerals. And few words about our whole gut wellness program. That's my first digital course that I just recorded, and it's going to go live in the first week of September. It's an educational program that will help you to understand the intricacies of the gastrointestinal health and how it all binds together with the functional medicine. And there will be a lot of interesting tips and tools how to focus on healthy and balanced gut. So as a thank you for you participating in this webinar, you get to enroll for only $99 before their prices will increase in September, and learn about how you can do it yourself. Basically, it's your guide video will guide you through their healthier gut. You will know what is the 4R strategies and how to work on your gut-brain axis. So if you want to scan this code, you can get the invitation for the discounted program. And if you scan here, you will get the quiz on your wellness quiz. And then it will be very helpful and useful for you if you come for the visit, so we can revise it together. And also you can join our portal of communication through the Facebook or YouTube channel and others. And remember, if you are elderly and you know you have nutritional deficiency, IV drips is an amazing way to support your nutritional status. For all new patients, we have this first time special price. So make sure you call us and ask about that. So if you're not a patient yet, but you'd like to be, feel free to call us and schedule some Calendly call. My staff will answer all your questions before you make a commitment to change your life for better. And for existing patients, just a quick reminder that every month we run their 3x4 program. We do encourage patients to be tested with the 3x4 genetic test, the test that helps us to understand who you are genetically and what is your individual needs in nutrition, in what pathway, cellular pathway and molecular pathway you need to support. It's a great way, a scientific way to individualize the nutritional supplementation. And we're seeing more and more sicker patients who are exposed to toxic mold. And that's why we have a special program for people to learn and understand this notion of exposure to mold and toxic mycotoxins. So please make sure you attend our group, and it's a free group for people who know they have a mold exposure. So we all know that friends want friends to go to the best doctor, so we are open for the new clients. So if you're interested, please refer your friends or just come and become a patient if you're still not a patient of this practice yet. And thank you very much for attending, for joining our live Q&A. Please take advantage of this discount. It's 10% off site-wide by using the code that is on this screen. And this is their name of my medical store. You can find it by going into my website, drelenaKlimenko.com, and click on the store or shop, and you'll see it there.